Let's send some tweets.
Incredible edible egg, hey, Donnie boy.
Hey. Is it live? For me, it's not. Oh, now it is. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be.
Yep.
Yeah. I see it.
Yeah, so do I now.
Just need to get the address. You know, I finally found out how you can trim these videos so that people don't have to watch all of it. Your tweet deck is showing, Josh. If you don't care.
Yes, sir. Aha!
Everyone can see who you follow.
And who you muted.
Who I've muted? I mean, I've muted most people. Just because I follow people who I've muted, so.
I mean, I gotta say, like, I mute a lot of people when they know me. It's just, and then like I go through it like half a year later and just unmute the people that I actually like.
If I'm not following if somebody's not following me, I unfollow them almost immediately. Otherwise, I just mute. Otherwise, I just mute them. You know.
You gotta play the cold game. There's no other way to play it.
Still shows up on TweetDeck though. Like I still see. TweetDeck doesn't exactly filter it the way I'd like it to, but whatever.
Yeah.
Like if somebody on my list retweets somebody who I've muted, it'll still show up sometimes.
Oh.
Well,
that blows.
hello everyone. My Bluetooth has like been cutting in and out, and I don't know why. So, fortunately, I don't absolutely have to have it, but it's annoying when I suddenly can't use my keyboard, and I had to plug in a second mouse as a backup.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Every week, tech issues.
I know, man.
I'm down.
Always down.
You remember when they used to call them the Blue Tool?
The blue,
Guys with the Bluetooth in their ear all the time.
oh no, I never heard that. That's good though.
Blue Tool. How's my audio, by the way?
I think everybody sounds fine. I don't really care if we don't.
All right. Okay.
I'm tired, man.
Audio engineer status.
I'm tired. Not gonna make it. That's what Sir Minia said. Ledger's wasted. I'm not wasted. I'm tired.
How much did you sleep?
Not enough.
That sounds like it.
I mean, like, going to bed early in Miami was like 3 a.m.
Jeez. Okay.
People went so hard all the time. White Claws for breakfast type stuff.
I mean, it sounds like a party in the half.
Oh, it was a party. It was.
I mean, we can.
It was beyond my pay grade of party.
We look at it and think it was a horrible conference, blah, blah, blah. In reality, it was just, well, I'm just saying, in reality, it was people getting together for the first time in however long. So, of course, it's going to be debauchery, right?
Yeah. Chicken hunters, I would not know. That's FUD. And Nonsk, yes, I met Milkman. He was the first person I saw in Miami. I actually met him 2 weeks ago. He took my family on a boat, a different boat than the pictures that you saw probably. Yeah, he's a great guy. He goes pretty hard, and he brought people with him.
Nice. Should we start?
We should start. You ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Let's do this. Switch a couple things around here. Oops. Doop. All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to Weekly Open. I'm Brian. This episode of Weekly Open is brought to you by Blockfolio. Go to weeklyopen.com/Blockfolio. Make a trade there today. You can do it. It's easy. Go directly from one asset to the other. Little known feature, or not enough known feature, is that it's also a great app for connecting straight to your bank. If you want to DCA into or out of crypto, you can do it right on Blockfolio. Go to weeklyopen.com/blockfolio. Thanks to them for being our partners for Weekly Open. Gentlemen, hello.
Hello.
So which is it this week? Are we DCAing in or DCAing out?
I feel like Don's just constantly DCAing out.
Nah. It's not that bad.
However, I mean, I don't know. I'm not DCAing. I'm not bringing in new fiat at the moment, but it's in no man's land, right? We're in no man's land, so don't have to do much of anything.
If we're gonna move, we got to do it soon.
Yeah,
it can't. And we can have fake outs one way or the other, and I can put all my fancy lines on the chart, and the cloud can tell me like this looks like garbage, and we're threatening a breakdown on the pitchfork on BTC. Expectations should be this would break down. Like, the reality is,
based on that pitchfork, Josh is DCAing out.
Well, the reality is, triangle post bear move should be bear continuation. That's just how it should be. So,
and this is like really lingering down here. It's not like it's taking its time to make the next move, going to the very edge of the triangle.
I've seen so much like sentiment stuff, and it's like, guys, we're still at 36K. You realize this could go to 20. Like, how are you going to feel when it goes to 20? People are like, oh, I haven't seen sentiment this low in forever. I'm like, have you been here in 2014? Were you here in 2015? Were you here in 2018? Like, sentiment is fine. Okay. Like, this is not a big deal. This can go way lower, and based on TA, it really should. The only thing is it's still oversold on high time frame indicators.
Yeah. Based on what I saw in Miami, sentiment's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why these people are like, it's so hostile, blah, blah, blah. Like, guys, it's your first time. Like, where have you been? You know, I don't understand. I don't get it. But anyways, Cloud says this looks bad. The only thing that's saving us, like I said, is it's oversold. ETH looks okay though. Yeah. Honestly, if I can find my chart,
where BTC looks amazing.
I had ETH somewhere.
I can't get Don's words or thoughts out of my head when he was talking about how, like, if ETH looks good but BTC looks like trash, that's not in the end, that's not good for anybody, you know.
Well, the thing about ETH here is that ETH should break up, unlike BTC, which has a downward bias. ETH has an upward bias here.
Don, what are your thoughts, sir?
I mean, I don't like whenever we have like altcoins, even if it's ETH, decouple. Even more so when the market looks weak. I mean, it's just like the typical kind of thing. Everyone gets excited because like an altcoin or even ETH breaks out, and then we get dumped on by Bitcoin basically, and then the entire thing mean reverts. I don't like it. I mean, maybe it's a new paradigm, but I've been doing well by not expecting a new paradigm, because usually you just don't get one. And like if ETH breaks out, I think and Bitcoin continues to look like it does right now, I think that's a selling opportunity, if anything. So either Bitcoin turns around here and breaks out with ETH, or I think you should be looking for sells into the ETH breakout, even on ETH. But like I said, in general, I like sells on Bitcoin more than on ETH, because ETH BTC looks good to me.
Yeah.
This comparative...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, comparatively, this kind of feels like 2015.
Yeah, I like that circle.
This looked worse in 2015 than we do now. This looked like a descending triangle, you know, that this broke up.
Well, you know, Josh, when it's a continuation pattern, so we've been going up, then we go to one of those triangles like we're in now. You've talked about before, like if it just goes to the tippy top of it, then it usually leans towards not being continuation and being reversal. So in this case, it would indicate that it up is the natural direction. Like if the continuation is supposed to be down, you know what I mean? Like, but then it goes to the very edge of the consolidation's potential. It makes more sense to be up. So maybe it's just total absorption here. Like people are willing to buy Bitcoin at these prices, and it prevents kind of like extreme new lows, which I could get. Like we're 50% off, and then in the global macro and all that crap, it's still pretty risk on. So maybe it's just some kind of reaccumulation lower, but chart wise, like it it just doesn't look good. You know, it's like we need some confirmation.
Something else that is similar is this 2018, 2019 ascending triangle we had at the bottom, where it just waited and waited and waited until the quarterly rollover to actually move.
It was painful in like February and March, and then it just kept staying painful through April. Like it was mid-April before that finally punched up.
Right. And alts move first here. EOS and LTC move first here, just for people who weren't around. But this chart looks way better than
that looks strong
right now.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? I mean, I still remember trading that, and I was like, yeah, this might, like everyone, or like a lot of people were bearish back then, but like you can see that there's strength in that chart. And then you look at Bitcoin right now, and I don't see any. But I mean, that can change real quick, right? You just need like a big company to allocate or something, and then that can turn around relatively fast. It's just until that happens, I mean, look at the weekly Bitcoin chart, right? I mean, let me actually share real quick.
Do it. You should.
Like we broke down, right? Like, I mean, even like if you don't use any lines, anything at all, right? What we did, basically, we broke down, had a massive impulse to the downside, and then literally couldn't even, like, this is barely green for the last few weeks.
That's really bad. That's like really ugly.
I've not seen like Bitcoin look this bad in a long, long time. Now, it doesn't have to mean that we're just going to break down and it's all over, whatever. And even if it breaks down, I don't think it's all over, because I mean, that's going to be a nice dip to buy. But I mean, just chart wise, ignoring everything else, I mean, you have the head and shoulders potential if you want to like kind of look at those. You don't have any kind of bounce off of lows made. Like this looks really bad. In my opinion, the most likely thing to still happen is probably for it to just go sideways. And this can go on for much longer than we all think. Like every single day I wake up, I look at the chart and I'm like, oh, today is going to be where it stops going sideways. And then I focus it back down and like, this can go on for much, much longer. And I've seen that before, but it's just like.
What's the top of that wick 2 weeks ago? Like if it was to go all the way up and kind of shoulder itself up, like it could get to 43, 44, right? And you mean
still
not any different. Even
42 on mix.
Yeah. And that's still not like significantly different structurally. So there's room for a lot of sideways, even if it impulses out of this current consolidation when you pull it on that high time frame.
Yeah. And I mean, if you turn off log.
That looks broken.
It's just, sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, it's fine. What's that level there between the two large weekly impulse candles down? Like we're right where that new weekly opened, like 46, maybe 40 between the.
Oh, you mean this one?
Yeah,
45.
45. Yeah. Is that because that's also where it used to support in the consolidation? Is that kind of your bias flipping area, or would you have a change of heart before then?
So like in general, I think if we're going to get a complacency bounce, we're going to get it between 45 and 49. So if we kind of rally out of this is where it decides itself, right? Either it's a complacency bounce and it just crashes down, or I think we're just going to head out of that and then just legitimately make new highs, go to 70, 75, 100K. I don't see a point in calling tops if we reclaim into the 50K area. It's just like, I expected, honestly, like even though I've been on the bearish side of things, I've expected way more out of the last 2 weeks than what we've gotten. Like I expected this to fuck over bears and then maybe head lower again. But instead we've just kind of been like chilling at the lows, looking incredibly weak. I don't know if that's just like preparing for like whipsaw down back up again and then still eventually go to like 50, 45, 49. But in general, I don't like the chart.
The chat asked us if we could add volume to this chart. I don't know that will help on BitMEX alone because they're losing so much OI. But if you go to like a generic Bitcoin index, anyway. What's in addition to this, Don, is we now, with the biggest news of the Bitcoin Miami conference, I mean, a sovereign nation is there's confusing messaging, but they're either adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet or treating it as legal tender or somewhere in between. That's like one of the big things that we were waiting on for who's going to be first to admit that they're doing this, right? Like there's probably other countries that own Bitcoin and don't talk about it, but potentially treating it as legal tender, what ramifications that has for all other countries. Does it freak other countries out and make them want to clamp down more? We don't know what the ramifications will be, but the market just shrugged it off so hard. Like it just was a total non-event. That's got to be bearish, right? You think that a sovereign nation, it even talks about it and it's an opportunity for up, but it just like nothing happened whatsoever.
Yeah, I want to see like in the best case, we get like bearish news and then we shrug those off too, because then like
shows people
then it's
bored.
just sideways market. Yeah. And I mean, that's something that we've had before where it's just like, okay, the market ignores both sides. But right now it kind of feels like whenever you get bullish news, like nothing happens, and we get bearish news, like even a test, like an Elon Musk kind of tweet takes the market down like 30%, while like all of those like bullish news that we've gotten in the last few days to weeks just didn't lead to anything. So like if we get bearish news, like legitimately bearish news, and we don't do anything, then I'll just be saying, okay, this is just a range, and wherever that's gonna go, that's probably going to have some follow through, right? Let's say this goes on for like 4 months or 5 months of the sideways thing, and then it starts breaking to the upside. I would think that has probably follow through. And the same thing, if it breaks to the downside, you're going to probably have follow through. But as it looks right now, like I would say that's clearly a bearish indicator. Could reverse at any point. It doesn't really guarantee anything, but it's just like confidence to add to the list of bearish stuff that we've been kind of dealing with. And I mean, if you think about it, right, we've been consolidating. Let me turn on log chart. We've been consolidating at like 60K for 100 days. So I mean, there's plenty of time for this to either go sideways or drop and then go sideways, right?
Right.
So
I think the biggest thing that makes me think we're just going to go sideways and up or do a wall of worry or something is that like ETH BTC is so strong. Like it's so strong. It looks so good. And I think that Bitcoin has to work through a lot of narratives that really took hold, like the freaking energy use narrative, like just really had a lot of legs this year. And like I think Dogecoin took out tons of retail attention away from Bitcoin, and it just seems like Bitcoin's kind of fighting through all of these narratives, and it needs to have momentum reaccumulation by stronger, more convicted hands to get out of that. But we're not seeing extreme weakness in these other assets, especially in ETH, and it makes me think that Bitcoin will eventually wake up and move forward, and this will look like a good buy. But in the meantime, like it looks so weak and laggard, you know, like I feel like dominance could really get punished.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. For me, it's a little bit scary. Like, I mean, ETH's the one where I'm like not getting too worried. Like when we get like these garbage coins that take off again, then I get more worried. That's kind of what I used back at 60K to justify but those aren't some really, of my bearishness.
They're not. It's not really happening, right? Like ETH is pretty much outperforming even like everything, like all the other alts. Like it's all the strength seems to be in ETH to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I wouldn't kind of ring any alarm bells just based on ETH. Because I mean, if like the entire list was green and Bitcoin was behaving like this, I would say, okay, I'm pretty damn certain that it's probably going to drop. Like it just makes sense. With just ETH, I mean, yeah, it's a little bit worrisome for like the Bitcoin bit, because when you have like everyone concentrated on ETH, and ETH is like quite large now, that's a little bit of a concern, but it's not as much as when you just have retail frenzy going on, like we've had basically when Bitcoin was trading at 60K.
Yeah. I still think Ethereum has its like Bitcoin 2017 fractal on, and I think that that's kind of insane to consider. But yeah, I mean, the Benny in the chat's asking about like flippening versus bull market flippening odds or sideways flippening. Like if ETH continues to gain steam, the flippening doesn't have to mean like everything moons. It just could mean like ETH is stronger than Bitcoin in a down or sideways move. I think Kobe was even talking about that. Like if we go to 0.2 ETH, you know, one of the cases for that is 5K ETH and 25K Bitcoin.
Holy shit.
I mean,
that'd be brutal.
That's the
Holy
funniest scenario, though, isn't it? Like everybody's just max coping in that situation, except for ETH maxis. But it's not like they went to the moon. They, you know, they busted. They got a double. But like Bitcoin's so weak in that scenario, and off you go.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing like that I totally agree with you on, like the ETH kind of side of things, is that like Bitcoin has a bunch of stuff happening that ETH doesn't have, right? Like if you look at Bitcoin, GBTC unlock still gonna happen, still coming. That's like the headwind, I would say anyway. And then you have like Sailor going completely nuts on Bitcoin.
I don't think
is
that's
like
bullish at all. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that's like, both of those aren't bullish, right? Like you don't want to have like massive GBTC overhang for Bitcoin. Like you don't have that with ETH. It's much better. And then you also don't have like Sailor going completely nuts, because I mean, at some point, like how long does this keep going on, right? How deep can he kind of martingale himself? I mean, he's not underwater yet. So don't want to kind of...
He will be underwater at some point. Like it seems inevitable if he's going to continue to average in.
Yeah, that's just his strategy, basically. It feels like he wants to kind of put his average underwater and see what happens, because I mean, that's kind of what how he's been buying.
But like, they have until 2028 or something to pay anything back. But I mean, he is margining his position. So
did you see today they just announced another 400 million?
Yeah, that's what we're referencing.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
What are your thoughts on that, Josh? Like that's... People are I mean, I know a lot of people are celebrating it. Some are trolling, but in the end, it's centralizing more coins, not decentralizing coins.
Whales are bad. Guinea coefficient going up is bad. I don't like it at all. You know, I said the same thing about GBTC. I said the same thing about ICO treasuries. It's just deja vu over again.
It's good until it's tragic.
It's good until it's bad for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that that's basically what the bear markets are? Just like starting to shake these people out again and then just start anew? Because it kind of feels like every time we've had decentralizing events, right? Like with the ICO bubble and everything, like they get shit on and then it just kind of starts over in a healthier way. And then it gets really bad again.
Think about the OKEx leaderboards or the BitMEX leaderboards. Like anytime there's a whale position that's in threat of being in trouble, like they have a target on their back, and that's where we're going to go, right? We're going to go for that. Yeah,
and you know their average all the time, like macro strategy. That's what they're moving their stuff into now. MicroStrategy's average is now to like 25K or something like that, and it's going to work its way up as they continue to average in. And that puts a target on their back, and it doesn't necessarily mean they get liquidated. It's not like they're trading on, you know, BitMEX, but they have shareholder pressure. They have all kinds of stuff that could happen, that could put the pressure on them to change their tune. They have 6 years to Ponzi their way out of it, or 7, until they owe anything on these debts, but... do they have a plan? Like, what if we went into a bear market for that long? That would be hilarious in like a sad way.
I mean, it'd be a great buy, right? For everyone just sitting on the sidelines. It's the question of basically like, I mean, if you're a big player in the Bitcoin kind of game and you control a large stake, right? Is it worthwhile to kind of punish them, or can you actually do it? Like, is the buy pressure there? Like, I have no fucking idea. That's like way, way above what I can kind of start reasoning for. But it's like, it must be terrifying for Sailor. I have no idea why he keeps on like going harder, because I mean, everyone knows where your pain is, right? Everyone knows. Right. And I mean, it's not a big market yet. It's still relatively small. And I mean, there's a bunch of players in the market that can fuck you over. So I mean, either he knows something that no one else does, or like only a few people do, or it's just like he's
I think
it feels like gambling.
He religiously believes in the inevitability of Bitcoin due to the variety of factors that impact that. And that's fine. I saw some people say that like he really doesn't have a ton to lose personally. Like even if the company goes down, like he's wealthy in his own right. But if he's right, the upside is like he is like a king of the world. Like he owns a hilarious, like his company controls and owns a hilarious amount of one of the great assets in the world if it continues to move up. So I don't know. I think he's nuts, but a lot of people who are successful are.
I mean, you kind of have to, right? I mean, it's obvious that like when we're talking about it, we think like, holy shit, that guy has lost his marbles, right? But maybe it's just literally like how you have to behave to kind of either make it or, because I mean, you're never going to hear from him again if it goes like the wrong way, right? But like if it goes the right way, just like with Elon Musk, for example, and his career, I mean, he's going to be the hero of at least like one generation. So I mean,
people are already sick of Elon being their Bitcoin hero. Like his tweets have moved the market more than anything else. Like the market's been incredibly boring until he tweets an emoji, and then that's when we finally dump and stuff. And so people are over Elon. They're in for El Salvador, and they're mixed on Michael Saylor. These are not the market influences that I dreamed of.
Yeah.
Do y'all have any other like sentiment takes or things like that, or what do we want to talk about? You want to talk?
I thought the hardware wallet news from Square and Dorsey was actually one of the most bullish things to come out of the conference personally.
Yeah, I actually, they were hyping this whatever this news was going to be, and I guess a sovereign country, whatever, doing something with Bitcoin was one of the potential outcomes. I hoped and thought, I think the most bullish outcome would actually be like Square directly supporting Lightning, like on all Square processors. Like that's a much more impactful everyday retail thing to me. Like giving Bitcoin utility in the real world, and like little shops could hold Bitcoin and use Lightning directly. To me, that makes a lot more sense. And I actually still think that's inevitable. But I was kind of disappointed that we got the El Salvador news instead.
Yeah, I mean, hasn't Maduro been holding Bitcoin for years? Like,
yeah.
When I saw the El Salvador news, I was like, great, but who cares, right? Unless it's a G7 nation that says something like that, the world's not going to care.
Tons of speculation over the years that North Korea has a ton of Bitcoin, and like, so you're just adding to the list of pseudo-authoritarian regimes that own Bitcoin. So, I don't know. I've heard mixed reviews about whether he's authoritarian or not. He has the potential for becoming some kind of bad guy, but so far it seems like he's just a populist that the country likes, but he took control of all the legislative branches and all that. I don't know. But yeah, my big news was, I was hoping, like the big news I wanted was that like a much closer correlation between Strike or Lightning and Square. To me, that would be like really, really good fundamental news that spreads Bitcoin out further rather than centralizing it more.
Yeah. I mean, that's honestly like the one thing that we've had, right? I mean, I've been kind of surprised how like these big companies and these big players can still, like, even after 10 years, like get such a large stake in this thing. Like, I'd much rather have it so that like smaller people hold more of it. But I mean, maybe that's just down the line, right? Maybe the bigger players get shaken out, but it's like usually not how it works, right?
Yeah, it seems like it's a barbell shaped moving of coins, maybe from medium holders like traditional crypto whales to like giant institutional whales, and then further down to like more people with far fewer Bitcoin, like the people that are like sub 1 Bitcoin, but then also the people that are like plus 1,000 Bitcoin or however many, but the middle, the fish are fewer.
Yeah. The Casicious coins, which is like an OG hodler index. We didn't see a lot of cashing out of that. And across the board, really, we didn't really see a lot of Bitcoin days destroyed increasing, which means that long-term holders weren't cashing out and didn't really cash out. It's just anybody who's got in recently realized a ton of losses on chain. Dixie's dying though, guys.
Yeah, Dixie just like sits at the lows and struggles. Don, can you pull that one up for us?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, every pump got faded. I'm looking at a 4-hour chart where like its move above 90 just got obliterated.
Oh yeah.
The other thing I like about this market is some of these DeFi charts have moved up.
Yeah.
Like 1 inch has moved up. Like look at 1 inch and look at ETH. That's the expectation you should have for ETH if you're bullish on anything. This DeFi perp index looks good for up. It's basically the ETH chart.
Are you sharing right now?
I'm not, no.
Yeah, do so.
Okay. I
think Aave looks fairly strong relative to ETH. But I think ETH still has kind of the advantage here overall. Uni looks
it looks like most of the correlative DeFi stuff is waiting on ETH to make a decision.
Right.
Whereas like Curve
have more upside, yeah.
Right, they'll have more upside. Curve has already moved on some fundamental stuff. What did I say? 1 inch.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Dixie. Dixie's dead. Just because I have it in my panel. 1 inch broke up out of that Adam and Eve. Great. Wi-Fi looks more consolidating than even BTC does. That is an insane triangle there.
I hope it moves up.
So
I still have a bag. I've just been waiting on that complacency bounce. I'm very happy to sell Wi-Fi on complacency. And that's kind of my concern on DeFi in general, is I feel like that's probably a pretty common feeling, you know? It's like people are willing to move back to ETH as these continue their up moves. So I don't know that the relative strength will last very long, even if they get it.
Well, path of least resistance for Wi-Fi is up. My problem though is that it's Wi-Fi. So, you know,
I like that it's Wi-Fi. It's illiquid enough to move quickly when it moves, so that's why I've stuck with it. Okay. Yeah.
So to me, this looks more bear than even BTC does. LTC hasn't really, you know, the non-DeFi stuff hasn't really done much. This is LTC, BTC, but yeah, I don't know. Everything's just kind of waiting. Sol actually looks strong. You know, I know you've had your issues with Solana.
I got no issues with Solana anymore. It went down and whatever.
I don't like anything that's new and has done well since January because that's everything. But the issue here is there's just so much money being pumped into Solana, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Solana definitely looks at resistance to me now, but it doesn't mean it can't just bust right through it and continue on. The relative trade on Solana, though, that I felt could happen to the downside basically played out, and it's just been like versus ETH, it's been consolidating in a relatively bullish manner. I mean, a lot of people are rightfully bullish on Solana as a platform, which is fine. But I've got nothing against it.
Yeah, it went from Adam and Eve to ascending triangle. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to touch it until it's like sub 15.
Yeah, it's just hard to buy unless you get those like extreme moves down. Like if I had any money when it was $20, sure I would have bought it. You know, that was enough of a capitulation wick to me. But I was just as illiquid as everybody else that was selling their Solana. You know, like I wasn't going to capitulate other stuff. I wasn't prepared for that dip. And that's kind of where I feel like we get overall here is like, how do you prepare yourself for the next moves and which direction those are in? Are you going to, like, are people going to end up off sides because they're in or off sides because they're out, depending on which way we go? Like, which is the path of least resistance? That's what I haven't decided yet. What's that?
Yeah, it's so hard to judge because, I mean, the thing is, right, this could break out of this, like Bitcoin could break out of the low time frame range and then just return right back into it. And we've seen that before too, right? So it's like, I could see people that wait for confirmation get fucked over if the confirmation is too tight, right? Let's say you're looking at Bitcoin, and I can share like what low time frame range I'm looking at real quick. So like low time frame, it's the daily range, right? So this is the daily range. And I mean, I've been saying like buy 32, 33-ish, sell 40, right? And that's been working really well. But the thing is, if you're waiting for confirmation just above like 40, and this goes here, I could easily see it get just rejected either by these like lows here or even up here into the 49K area and then head back down. So if you're waiting for confirmation, you're basically starting to buy the top already. And the same thing is true for the downside, right? If you're just like sitting in and you're waiting for 33 to give out before you sell, well, there's a good chance this wicks to downside to like 25 or like even just approach 28 and then just reverse right back into the range and then have like the proper move afterwards, right? You could have a breakdown here, return back into range, go a little bit sideways and then just start slowly falling back out again. And like this situation is one where it's either you're going to be like when you're in this situation, it just sucks either way, right? That's why I like to just chill and give it some time because I mean, for me, it's pretty obvious that it's going to be bullish above 50. And then I'm just going to buy the dip if it dips, right? So for me, it's like very, very comfortable to just sit there and be out of the market because I can just say, okay, I'm going to buy low, I'm going to buy high. But I know like a lot of people have issues with that because I mean, they're going to get FOMO, like massive FOMO if it breaks above 40. And if that's the case, right, you kind of have to know yourself well enough to be able to say, okay, I'm going to have FOMO if it breaks above 40. So I'm just going to buy here and I might get wrecked on the downswing. But that's fine by me, right? Like that's the kind of decision that you have to take before the move happens, because if you're buying into like chop upside or chop downside, you're going to get wrecked. And that's been the story of this game pretty much for the last few days, in my opinion.
You know, one other element of this that I think is worth noting in the macro correlation is that the S&P seems to really be struggling to make a new high. The Qs still look like they're making kind of this rounding top, the NASDAQ rather. And the stuff that still is like moving and going up are the meme stocks, like the GME and AMC type stuff that is still getting bid up. And all of that freaking terrifies me. You know, like it just makes me think that Legacy is just looking for a good opportunity to roll over itself and get a 5-10% correction, wash some of those people out so that others can step in with cash. And that doesn't make me like super bearish on Legacy. It just like, I think it could see up to a 10% move and still be like a healthy correction, but that would obliterate these crypto consolidations, you know? So I'm hesitant.
Well, it reminds me of Shiba. Like it's the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
All these Doge, it's like the Doge clone meme garbage in AMC and GME.
That's exactly right. Like, I feel like we're watching the same thing happen and it gives me the same worry. So I'm not like sitting here rushing for Legacy market exposure because it looks quite toppy. And therefore that makes it hard for me to think like, oh yeah, we're just going to rush to 100K on Bitcoin or something. And maybe we move up, but I think so. I legit think we're going to be sideways for months. And I know that's boring for our listeners, but that's what it feels like to me. And Don, what is this chart? There's AMC, yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Like, I wish my altcoins would do this.
I mean, that's the Doge chart, right? Like,
yep.
Basically, right? Just massive move after being sort of range bound for a while.
It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like with Doge, you can kind of make the argument for like, how this is like a cute meme, whatever. For AMC, like, what the fuck's the argument besides the short squeeze one, right? Like everyone in AMC, I think, knows that this shit is gonna go back down again. Whereas like people in Doge, I think, like not everyone realizes it. So it's kind of like very suspect. I don't know. It's just so wild to me, right? Because like in these cryptocurrencies, that moon, like people legitimately think that's the future. At least some of them do, right? For this, like, I don't think anyone can make the argument for it. So it's like, you just have like a pump on a narrative that everyone's getting short squeezed. And I mean, I have no idea how this is going to play out, but it's just so weird to see.
Yeah. Josh, I'm too lazy to pull my screen up, but could one of y'all pull up the Amazon chart with the 200-day simple moving average on it? Like, Amazon just looks like a massive distribution to me. Like, it's so bad.
I thought you were going to ask to pull up the Shopify chart.
No. Don, throw that on throw the 20 on the, or the 200. That's good.
Yeah, where's on
the daily chart?
Where's the Wyckoff people looking at that thing?
I mean, look at this. Like, this is one of the most profitable companies in the world, and it can't sustain a bid. Like, it had the fake breakdown and broke up, but then it just did the same thing to the top side. There was no appetite for this above 3,500. None. And now it's sitting here at 3,200, crossing back below the 200 again. The 200's totally flattened out, meaning it's consolidated for a really long time. That does not look strong. So the bid in that market is all going towards AMC, GME type stuff, and this just looks like a gigantic distribution pattern to me. This makes it extremely hard to be bullish on legacy stuff. The only thing that I like in legacy is these like weird small cap things. Like, I'm in uranium stocks again, you know, and like I'm making money on it. Like, if you look at U, it's a uranium. You got one more U. There you go. Oh. Energy Fuels down there. So if you look at this on a weekly, like, this is the kind of crap that I'm in right now, because it's like uranium stuff is going ballistic and breaking out of these enormous ranges. And they look, yeah, I was in it. I was in it back then, but I didn't hold it for very long. But I got back in it a week or two ago as it was breaking out of that reaccumulation that it went through. But this is late cycle stuff, right? This is like all the Bittrex alts mooning in January 2018. Like, that's what it feels like.
Did you just call uranium a Bittrex alt?
Yeah,
is that what you said?
I did. It's the legacy equivalent. So it's like, none of this makes me feel very excited about what's going to happen a year from now.
I mean, that's going to be an interesting one, right? Can we actually use our crypto knowledge to time the traditional markets?
I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, silver looks great, and if that breaks up, I think crypto's in trouble. And silver looks like it should break up.
Yeah.
So I think we are in trouble. And I think the Dixie looks oversold. So I think that's going to be bullish. And crypto's going to be bearish, right? The only thing about the Dixie is that if we keep printing stuff and saying inflation's fine, then I think the Dixie's in trouble. But the other thing is, I'm looking at seasonality and I'm like, okay, Q3 is a few days from now, 23 days from now. And it's never been bullish, really. ETH BTC has never been bullish the second half of the year. It's never had a positive quarter in Q4, ever. BTC has outperformed ETH every Q4 on record. So keep that in mind too.
So the chat was asking me to tell Miami stories, and Sam Trabucco just shouted one out on Twitter. So one, I couldn't get into the FTX party because I had shorts on the other night. Like, you have to wear pants, so they wouldn't let me in. Apparently the only person in that entire venue with shorts on was Sam.
That's
It's hilarious.
Wow.
They wouldn't let me in. I'd been at the yacht party and they let me in at that place, which was insane. My entire body was vibrating. The bass was so strong. But I did have fun. Hung out with all the yacht people. But then yesterday I was hanging out with some of the people from Alameda and FTX and CMS Holdings, and Sam Trabucco was there, and they were all going to the fight, and Sam delayed his flight, decided to stay, but needed pants to go to the flight. So I gave him my pants. So my famous Expandy pants from an Up Only episode recently are now in the custody of Sam Trabucco of Alameda.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. It was fun, man. Just met all kinds of random people and enjoyed it.
Yeah, I wish I could have gone. Like, those events, as cringe as they might look to some, and I mean, I get where
they are
coming
cringe
from
in some ways, but like, I don't know anybody that went to the talks, you know?
Yeah, that's what people need to realize, right? No one goes there to listen to anything. Like, it's always just like a bunch of crypto people that have known each other for like years on the internet, and then they go and have like a party together, get to know each other. Always fun. And I mean, there's obviously like the grifters around and stuff, but it's like, it's usually just good friends hanging out. Like I've loved everyone. Like every time I've gone, I've loved it, and pretty much everyone I've met, I've connected with, and been like, it's been cool. I don't know. See too much hate on the internet for this kind of stuff. Just friends meeting friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Overall, it's good. I mean, people are like, some people are absolutely wild, and you know, they stay out till 6 a.m. and put their bodies through absolute torture, but they're like extraordinarily nice, and you know, you just meet up with somebody that's nothing but an internet friend for the last several years, and you give them a big hug and have a good time, and off you go. So
yeah,
overall, I think it was a very positive event.
Nice.
Yeah. What else do y'all have to want to talk about today?
I mean, like the worst thing about like making content during times like this is because it's like everything just looks like garbage or sideways, right? So it's like, what the fuck do you talk about? Like, I mean, even the stuff that's moved up nicely from like the nuke is just going sideways now, right? So I've been looking at Link. I mean, what's this? Like, am I supposed to be bullish here, bearish? I have no fucking idea. Like, I'd probably be like, if I had to make a guess, that'd be bearish looking at this, but like, so fucking hard to call. Like whenever the charts, like whenever I look through my entire list and every single chart looks like it could go either way, I'm just gonna be like, okay, fuck this shit. Like I'm not gonna be dealing with any of it, because like the only thing that you can do is pretty much do something wrong. And then like when the true opportunity comes, or like strength, or like anything that makes it obvious where this market is gonna go,
you should have time to get in if it's gonna like tell you it's going up.
Yeah. And then if you're already allocated and it does some weird shit, then you're going to be panicking, and like it's the worst thing in the world. I've done it before where it's like you just allocate because you get impatient, and then it nukes or it pumps, and you're just sitting there being like, okay, shit, what do I do now? And it gets really difficult.
I actually think that's a pretty good takeaway for how to approach the market right now. Like while it's doing this is, what do you want to prioritize for? And I think the biggest thing you probably want to prioritize for is liquidity. Whether that means you're like mostly in majors and looking for good opportunities to go outside of majors, or you have a healthy stash of cash and you look for opportunities where other people get squeezed because they're over allocated or over margined or whatever else. And just look for those like easy double type of pitches rather than, you know, like putting yourself in a 3-2 count or whatever. Sorry for the baseball analogy, but
I like it. That's pretty much exactly what I think you should be doing. Yeah. Someone asked if I would ever review my identity at some point. I mean, I like with friends and stuff, I meet them, like I'm not running around with a duck mask, but like on the internet in general, like I don't really wanna, because I don't see the point.
Yeah.
Would you do it again, Lisha, if you had to?
It was kind of weird being recognized by people and being stopped and told they like my podcast. You know?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's fine. There's some things that I would probably do different. Like OPSEC can be a little bit difficult when you're like 100% doxed rather than just face doxed. But there's a lot of advantages to being relatively public. Like it's easier making relationships for business and things like that. I did launch I announced my business while I was there, so that was fun as well. I didn't even mention that yet, but
How did it go?
It was good. Our team was kind of putting the final touches on our little landing page teaser. So Flip Metrics is officially in the wild. I'm 100% crypto now. I had already talked about selling the web business, the rest of it that I'd been doing for like 10 years. So now I'm fully DeFi pilled. So we're building metrics and intelligence and all kinds of fun stuff for the DeFi landscape. If people go to flipmetrics.com. Sorry for the free shill, but you know.
I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? So now whenever I have a question about DeFi and stuff, I just come to you.
That's right. And eventually there's no coin. You're not aping anything. You're aping a newsletter sign up list. That's what you're aping. But yeah, it's going to be a free app that's for people to use. And my goal is for someone to feel like they really messed up if they didn't look at flip metrics to see like the metrics that we show for a particular coin before they buy it. You know, like definitely want to make sure that that it's like part of everyone's daily workflow if they're doing any DeFi and on-chain trading. So we're excited about it.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds good. Keep me updated. For sure.
Right now, it's just like one teaser tool on there. It's a real small thing that we launched, but we got a lot more.
Nobody's more excited than me. Let's be honest here.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
If anyone loves using on-chain data to support the things that they showcase in the world, it is Josh Olszewicz.
It's true.
My dream,
it's literally
my dream is to see flip metrics charts in Josh's blog posts and YouTube analysis soon. Maybe if I'm lucky.
Soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now.
Yeah, I would just wait and see really for everything. But to see the DeFi stuff starting to break up is good. To see Dixie starting to break down is good. I agree that legacy stonks look troublesome. So I don't know. It's a lot of mixed bag around across the board.
Yeah, and that's like I'm not trying to sit here and be bearish. I want to sit here and be liquid. I think that's the better way to put it.
Yeah, I agree.
I am currently not in cash at all. Like I've been waiting on the bounce that we've been getting, but I feel much more comfortable being like if I'm going to move a little bit to cash. If we break down from here, and let's say I do it. If ETH like loses 2,500 or something, well, I feel better about that than having capitulated 1,900, you know? Yeah. So, but for the most part, I would rather just stack ETH. Like I'm still really bullish on ETH. So I think the biggest move I'll make is probably slowly moving out of some of the DeFi stuff that I've held on to through this whole bounce. Cause I'm not convinced that they'll be able to maintain outperformance.
Yeah, if we start making lows, it's game over. You know, I wouldn't be a hero and try to buy the dip at that point because be prepared for 3 months of garbage at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm prepared for that anyway. Like, I think the crab meme that I've been I've been spamming my timeline with crabs, and I think that's gonna be continuing. Like, we're just gonna go sideways, and then if we break down, I could still see it go sideways, and if we break up, I could still see it go sideways. And if it breaks down hard, I'm gonna buy it, and if that doesn't happen, I'm gonna buy strength, and that's literally my entire plan. Like, I don't really see a point to get too aggressive when you've just had like a massive breakdown, but I don't see a point in getting uber bearish at the only support that we have on this entire ride. Like, it does make no sense at all to be like, okay, I'm gonna short the shit out of this when you like literally hit the only valid support that I would draw from this entire up move besides like the prior all-time high, right? Like, you gotta be, I mean, yeah, the upper side is resistance, but the lower side is still support. And like, don't get too crazy, like the shorting kind of side of things, like not interesting for me. I'm just going to be able, like, I want to be liquid enough, like let's just say, to be able to buy the dip if it happens, or to just buy into strength when it happens, like one or the other.
We are liquidity maximalists here on Weekly Open today. Fellas, let's end it there. Why not? Thanks everybody for being here. You know what to do. Go to weeklyopen.com/Blockfolio. Thanks to Blockfolio for being our partners. Go to weeklyopen.com/YouTube, I think, to subscribe on YouTube, or you're watching this right now. So just hit that friggin' button. Get notified next time we go live. Appreciate y'all being here. Go to weeklyopen.com/Blockfolio. Make your first trade today. Dollar cost average one way or the other. Connect your bank to Blockfolio. It's a great experience. We'll talk to you later.